The March 10th, 2026 School Board regular meeting is called to order. Ms. Tresky, please call the roll.
Mr. Cherry.
Here.
Mr. Link.
Here.
Dr. Jamison.
Here.
Ms. Quintana.
Here.
Ms. Trigg.
Here.
Mrs. Watkins.
Here.
Mrs. Apel.
Here. The board is asked to approve the request from Dr. Eli Jamison to participate in the meeting remotely by electronic communication means. Is there a motion to approve the request from Dr. Eli Jamison to participate in the meeting remotely by electronic communication for personal matters pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3708.3B4 means? Is there a motion to approve her request?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Ms. Watkins, seconded by Ms. Quintana. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Welcome to the meeting, Dr. Jamison.
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you to all of those attending the meeting via our RCPS YouTube channel and those who are here in person. We have a jam-packed house this evening, and I'm very excited to meet a lot of the people who are here with us today. And also thank you to our council members, Hagan and Powers and Mayor Cobb, who are with us this evening as well, and some representatives from the fire department, which we will get to later on in the agenda. Next is the approval of the agenda this evening. Is there a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented?
So move. Second.
Moved by Ms. Quintana, seconded by Ms. Trigg. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The motion carries and the agenda is approved. Please keep the following in your thoughts. Family, friends, and coworkers of Ms. Sarah Connor on the passing of her grandmother. Family, friends, and coworkers of Ms. Terry Lester on the passing of her mother-in-law. And family, friends, and coworkers of Deputy Labresca Whitaker on her passing. She served several of our elementary school communities. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Please rise and join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Moving on to our recognitions. First, March is VSBA Equity in Education Month. Mr. Link, will you please read the VSBA Board of Directors proclamation?
Yes, ma'am. Roanoke City Public Schools will celebrate and support the commitment to each child in our public education system receiving what they need and when they need it to advance positive student outcomes. The month of March has been designated as VSBA Equity in Education Month. Equity in education is a significant challenge nationwide. Whereas inequities in schools have become an increasingly significant challenge in the United States and Virginia, and whereas the majority of school-age students are children of color and over 50% of public school students qualify for subsidized meals, and whereas we recognize that factors including but not limited to disability, race, ethnicity, and socioeconomic status have a demonstrated history of impacting the educational opportunities provided to a student, and whereas the promise of public education is for every child to be successful in school and life, and whereas it is important for Virginia families, students, teachers, and school administrators to be aware of the diverse needs of learners and to encourage discussion of the challenges as a school community, And whereas the VSBA has established a task force on students and schools in challenging environments to make recommendations and to stay at the forefront of discussions on equity in Virginia schools. And whereas we recognize that inequities in resources, including educational settings, supplies, technology, and buildings impede student learning, now, therefore, be it resolved that Roanoke City Public Schools recognizes the month of March 2026 as VSBA Equity in Education Month with the intention that educational equity, best practices, and programming be discussed in Virginia's schools, communities, and classrooms during that time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Link. Moving on to the fire prevention poster contest winners. Ms. Claire Mitzel, could you please come forward and introduce our fire prevention contest winners? And okay, got it. You got it, Claire.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Dr. White, members of the school board. It's a pleasure to fill in tonight for our fine arts supervisor, Mrs. Whitney Johnson. I know she's watching from home, to help recognize our winners of the 20th Annual Fire Prevention Art Contest. Roanoke City Public Schools was honored to partner with Roanoke Fire and EMS once again in this annual contest to help communicate the importance of Fire Prevention and Safety Month with this year's theme of Charge into Fire Safety, where more than 300 students participated. Again, we had 300 students from all of our schools participate. So I would like to recognize and call forward Roanoke Fire EMS Deputy Chief Andy Foley. And I'd like to thank the Deputy Chief and the entire Fire EMS team for your continued partnership with Roanoke City Public Schools. So next, we will introduce the winners of the 2025 Fire Prevention Art Contest, as well as their art teachers. So we have a lot of names to get through. So when I call your name, both students and teachers, please come forward, go all the way around to receive your certificate and shake the school board and Dr. White's hands. And Deputy Chief, if you'd like to stand at the end there and also shake hands. So for our elementary category, third place is Kate Green, a fourth grader in Mr. Prim's art class at Highland Park Elementary School. Second place is Olive Hammer, a fifth grader in Ms. Leslie's art class at Monterey Elementary School. And first place is Christian Lipscomb, a fourth grader in Ms. Shammy's art class at Roanoke Academy for Math and Science. Please give all of our elementary winners a round of applause. Next, in our middle school category, all three winners are in Ms. Ackroyd's art class at Woodrow Wilson Middle School. So in third place, we have Hattie Martin, a seventh grader. Second place, we have Grace Strawn, a seventh grader. And first place, we have Harper Angus, an eighth grader. Please give our middle school winners a round of applause. Next is our high school category, and all three winners are in Ms. McNeil's art class at William Fleming High School. In third place, we have Jaimir Clark, an 11th grader. Second place, we have Safira Milanese Metheny. And first place, we have Jazari Jordan, a 10th grader.
Congratulations. Good
Please give our high school winners another round of applause. And give it up to Ms. McNeil, our amazing art teacher at William Fleming. And you thought I was done, but now we have our Select Award winners. So again, please come to the front when your name is called. So Fire Marshal's choice is Nala Davis, a third grader in Miss Shammy's art class at Roanoke Academy for Math and Science.
Yes, come on. Oh my goodness, you're beautiful. Congratulations. Yay.
Buddy's choice is Ivy Prim, a fifth grader in Mr. Prim's art class at Highland Park Elementary School. Follow that up with Chief's choice, which is Macy Moore, a fourth grader also in Mr. Prim's art class at Highland Park Elementary School.
Congratulations.
Mr. Prim, you want another round of handshakes?
Saw your mom back there.
Congrats again.
And last, but certainly not least, the Community Risk Reduction Choice Award goes to Marley Zwatsky, an eighth grader in Ms. Curry's art class at James Madison Middle School.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
So again, congratulations all. Thank you to Roanoke Fire EMS. And if our winners will join me in the hallway for a group photo.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jay.
Oh.
It's always great seeing what our students can do. Moving on to our featured school, Mr. Freeman, could you please come forward and introduce our March featured school?
Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair Cherry, members of the boards, Dr. White. On tonight, we have our featured school with us being Westside Elementary School. And I know that the proud principal, Dr. English, is going to come and show her school pride. So as she's coming forth, can we give her a hand?
Good evening, Chairperson Apel, Vice Chair Mr. Cherry, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. White, and distinguished guests. I am Kristen English, and it's an honor to serve as principal of Westside Elementary School. Tonight, I am grateful for the opportunity to share how Westside is living our vision and mission each day as we work to ensure students soar. Our shared vision is through continuous learning, collaboration, and community connection, Westside Elementary School will be a place of excellence where all students soar. Our mission grounds this work by fostering resilient learners. These statements are not only simple words on a wall, they guide our practice, drive our decisions, and shape the culture we commit to building for every eagle every day. We have a very diverse and vibrant community of learners. Westside is home to over 650 Eagles and over 100 remarkable teachers and staff. More than 120 of our students speak English as a second language, representing 18 different countries and 12 different languages. We have 4 specialized programs for students with intensive supports and needs and 3 preschool programs. We embrace this diversity deeply. It is one of our greatest strengths. And if you've ever visited our campus, you know we take great pride in who we are as a school community. Nearly 5 years ago, I challenged staff to lean into change, not because it is easy, but because it strengthens our school community. It enhances our communication about student learning and builds the capacity of our students' need to soar. We have engaged in the school improvement process and embraced changes in our practice and approach to teaching and learning by way of the collaborative structures established and implemented, such as PLC meetings and ILT meetings with our school-based teams and central office school improvement team led by Dr. Wimbush. We meet regularly to analyze student work, seek promising practices during learning walks to make the necessary adjustments with instruction to ensure student success. Today, we continue to have a student-centered culture for learning where all students have access to high-quality Tier 1 instruction. We continue to make academic gains and have increased student growth and achievement across demographic groups. We continue to strengthen our sense of community with our students by way of our nest meetings, club days, and family engagement events. It matters to us that our community knows us, sees us, and believes in the powerful work that happens at Westside every single day. We are so fortunate to have strong community relationships with our community partners through congregations and businesses in action that we call CIA Eagles. They help support our families in need during the holidays and throughout the school year with our Pack-a-Snack program. Through these partnerships, our students have also been able to receive enrichment opportunities and community mentoring through our Boys to Men program. Additionally, as authentic literacy continues to be a priority, we have an intentional focus on book access for all students. Our partners at Turn the Page supports this initiative and helps us offer a pathway to build home-side libraries while also strengthening the sense of community as we eat breakfast together on second Saturdays once a month at school. We now also have a free little library on campus that expands student opportunities for access to books even outside of the school day. At Westside, our teachers and support staff show up every single day with dedication, heart, and the opportunity to impact student learning. We are fortunate to serve our little Eagles and families and are grateful to be a part of the RCPS community and have the support from central office leadership, superintendent, and school board members. We believe we are better together, and together we make the difference. At this time, I would like to invite our little Eagles to come forward for a brief presentation about success.
Come on, Eagles.
Good evening. My name is Celia Washington Hodges, and I'm in 4th grade.
Hi, my name is Bonnie Jeanette, and I'm
One second, bud.
Good evening.
No, not yet.
Good evening. My name is Celia Washington Hodges, and I'm in 4th grade.
Good evening. My name is Bronson Jeanette, and I'm in 3rd grade.
Good evening. I'm Jakais Arrington, and I'm in 3rd grade.
Good evening. My name is Nevaeh Crowder, and I'm in 5th grade.
Good evening. My name is Kyrie Overstreet, and I'm in 2nd grade.
Good evening. My name is Faith Augustin, and I'm in 3rd grade.
Good evening. My name is Brooklyn Bradley, and I'm in 5th grade.
We represent 1st to 5th grade students from the amazing Westside Elementary School where Little Eagles soar. We begin each day with our Eagle Rules and Eagle Pride Pledge. They remind us of classroom and school-wide expectations and the importance of making good choices.
And now our Eagle rules. 1, listen when others are talking. 2, follow directions in and on the bus. 3, keep hands, feet, and objects to yourself. 4, work quietly and do not disrupt others. 5, show respect for our school and personal property. 6, work and play in a safe manner. 7, at lunchtime, use good table manners and remember to use your inside voice. 8, treat others the way you want to be treated. Being kind is what's up, Eagles. Let's work together and be all in for student success.
And now the Eagle Pride Pledge. I'm a Westside Eagle learning to soar. I pledge to be quiet, kind and will walk through the door. I pledge to own my actions throughout the day, making sure to include others in every way. I am striving to be the best version of me. I will be the change for others to see. Eagle, eagle what?
Eagle Pride!
When I say eagle, you say pride. Eagle. Pride. Eagle.
Pride.
Board members, Superintendent White, parents, teachers, and community members, you are our village. You are the juice that pours into us the necessary nutrients for our success.
Juice.
And we call the nutrients the essential 7. S, support. Your support improves my academic performance and mental health.
U, understanding. Your understanding helps me to feel valued and heard.
C, caring. Your caring ways help me to believe in myself and my ability.
C, compassion. Your compassion makes me feel safe and understood.
E, encouragement. Thank you for sowing seeds of love rather than thorns of doubt. S, self-confidence. Your belief in me increases my self-confidence and motivates me to push through other challenges.
S, security. Providing a safe space to talk and making sure we are physically safe builds trust and helps us to focus on being the best students we can be.
Thank you for investing in us. Thank you for pouring your time and energy into us. Because of your example, as we continue to soar, we will remember the importance of helping others to soar too.
Go ahead. Right here? Go to the next.
Awesome job. Come on,
Come here so we can meet you.
Oh, goodness, thank you. You did amazing.
Thank you for coming. High five.
Give it to him.
Y'all did great.
Did amazing.
Where's mine? Thank you so much.
You did amazing.
Thank you for coming.
Awesome.
Great job.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, thank you.
I loved it. I loved it, guys.
Wait. Good job. Good job, honey. Good job. Great job.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Great job.
Thank you so much.
Great job.
If my arms were long enough, I would hug you.
Thank you, Eagles.
Yes, thank you.
What's up, man? Big Sid? Okay.
Okay. As we are done with recognitions, is there a motion and a second for the board to take a recess for the purpose of a transition to the next agenda item?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Quintana, seconded by Ms. Trigg. Is there any discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Okay, we'll just take a brief recess so you can get resituated or whatnot, go to the bathroom, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Ooh, it got a lot cooler. Yeah. Okay.
Got ants in their pants.
Mr. Collins, do I have to do a motion to reconvene? Yes. And we're back. That was a little too colloquial for you. 1, 2, 3, eyes on me.
1, 2, eyes on you.
I can't clap if you can hear me clap once. You can hear me clap twice.
I didn't skip a beat.
When I say Eagles, you say,
Right.
Right?
Eagle what?
That was his favorite part.
yeah.
Eagle what?
She was cute. They were so precious. All right. Oh, and should I, Dawn, for the kids that weren't, yes. Chris. Oh, waiting for Mike.
Can you hook up on that?
Okay.
What's that?
On that t-shirt?
Oh, I can get you one.
Large. 3.
All right.
How much are they?
I don't, they were such the one.
Oh, okay.
You want me to?
I almost wore the one we got
Yeah,
at the VSBA.
Ready to go?
You want me to go with that one? Okay, all right. We will move on to the personnel list. Is there a motion, and thank you all for your patience during that recess. Is there a motion and a second to approve the personnel list as presented?
Motion.
So move.
Moved by Ms. Trigg. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Quintana. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. And the motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So move. Second.
Moved by Ms. Watkins, seconded by Ms. Trigg. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Hearing none, the motion passes. And Ms. Watkins, could you please tell us about the gifts that have been received by RCPS?
Absolutely. The board accepts with gratitude the following donations. The Roanoke Ski and Adventure Club provided a donation of 108 new coats with an approximate value of $2,500. Roger O. Howells LLC, CPA in Concord, New Hampshire. We are famous in New Hampshire, y'all. Provided a donation of $1,000 to help the homeless fund. Second Presbyterian Church provided a donation of $1,750 to Highland Park Elementary School. Again, we want to thank our community partners. We can't do this without you. All of the gifts and donations are well received. Everything is put to great use. We appreciate your partnership, and anyone else who is considering partnership with Roanoke City Public Schools, we welcome you.
Thank you very much. Okay, and on to citizen participation on agenda and non-agenda items. Mr. Cherry, do we have any signups this evening for agenda or non-agenda items?
We have 5 signups for agenda or non-agenda items. The school board values open communication, and we look forward to receiving your comments. We encourage all participants to engage in civil discourse and ask that you keep your comments respectful in helping us achieve this goal. To ensure regular opportunities to address the board are available and that the board has time to conduct its business, up to 30 minutes is allowed for public comment at regular board meetings. Citizen comments offer an opportunity for the public to inform the board. The board and superintendent generally do not respond to comments made or questions posed. All individuals are urged to provide written copies of their comments or other material supporting their views to the clerk of the board, who will ensure dissemination to board members. Staff present at the board meeting and whenever possible will assist you with your inquiry. When you get up here, please state your name for the record and state whether you reside in Roanoke City or not. And we ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes. All right, speakers may not cede their time to another individual. There's a light at the center of the podium. All right, that light will turn yellow when you have about 1 minute left. All right, so when I call your name, you may come up to the podium, and as soon as you begin speaking, I'll start your time. So do we have a George Dickinson? Mr. D.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. White, and members of the school board and central administration. I have several topics that I'd like to speak on, and I'm George Dickinson. I'm a Roanoke resident, a parent of Roanoke City students, and a teacher in the schools. Firstly, while it's become apparent that the new middle school block rescheduling has been researched and even implemented at 2 middle schools, the wider dissemination to the remaining middle schools seems to leave something to be desired. Meetings were called with a single day's notice. Rising 6th graders were being called personally by their counselors because no notice at all was given to them. Outdated materials about the classes available were pulled off the website because no information had been given prior to the meeting. Then the meeting itself showed a process that from the outside appears to be building the airplane while it's flying. Rather than polling students as to their availability and desire for classes and then presenting them with classes available as is done in a regular school year, we're telling students to pick from classes that may or may not be available because the schedule of classes has not been made. Teachers were unaware of possible class choices after the meeting. When asked, it was the first time that they had responded to those questions from parents. Counselors are currently asking students to make a choice between electives if they are unable to provide transportation to a 0 period. It seems as though this is a way to watch which classes are dropped and then be able to say this class isn't needed at this school. And now we can share teachers between schools, as is already being done with some chorus teachers, and drop those who didn't get enough interest. Above all, availability is based on the ability to provide transportation for students, at least for 0 period. Transportation has become a buzzword in Roanoke City schools. We have the current schedule forcing students to wake before 6 a.m. and leave school after 4 p.m. because of transportation. Early schools must wait until their day's half done to take a field trip, again because of transportation, and after-school programs and 0 periods become unavailable to all but the privileged because transportation. The Plato program has been brought up 3 separate times, and every single time, transportation is stated as one of the problems. It feels as though our system is working for the bus company rather than the other way around. I say again, as I've said before, the current schedule was enacted. If the bus company can't do what we wanted it to, why do we continue to use it? At a time when teachers are stressed and worried and with home budgets tight due to the current move towards more limited summer offerings for teachers, I wanted to ask again for you to reconsider offering 12-month pay schedule for teachers. The current system of opening a new bank account to put money into could be made easier for teachers, and pay could be assured over 12 months. It would give teachers peace of mind in these difficult times, and that seems entirely possible given what other districts have done. I want to say in closing that it's important for all voices that are impacted by the current budget to be heard. Perhaps meetings where teachers are unable to hear responses to their comments and questions and are just told they're being heard are not the best way to lead staff to think that their voices are being heard. Thank you very much.
Mr. D. Thank you. All right, next we have Christian Burnett.
Good evening, board. I am a resident of Roanoke City. My name is Christian Burnett, president of the Roanoke NAACP Youth Council, but more importantly tonight, I am a student at Patrick Henry High School. Roanoke City Public Schools is facing a $16.5 million budget deficit due to changes in the city's funding formula, which reduced the students' share of tax revenue from 40% to 34%. While it may not be called a cut, our school division is still facing serious shortfall, and that shortfall means potential reductions in staffing, transportation, and student services. For students like me, this is not just policy, it's personal. Patrick Henry is already overcrowded. Our classrooms are full and our teachers are stretched thin. If staff positions go unfulfilled, class sizes will grow even larger. That means less one-on-one support and fewer opportunities for students to fully understand the material. Cuts to staffing also mean fewer counselors. As a student preparing for college, I rely on my counselor for help with applications, transcripts, scholarships, and deadlines. Counselors also provide support for students facing stress and personal challenges. When they are overwhelmed, students will feel it. Transportation cuts, especially to after-school activity buses, will limit access to sports, clubs, and tutoring. These activities are not extras. They build leadership, discipline, and community. When access is reduced, involvement will decline. Funding reductions could also impact classroom resources and academic programs. As students competing for college and future careers, we need strong academic opportunities and competitive programs. This deficit affects more than just numbers. It affects opportunity, it affects morale, it affects whether students feel supported by their city. I appreciate discussions taking place, but I urge you to keep the students at the center of every decision. We are the ones who live with the consequences. Investing in our schools is investing in Roanoke's future. Thank you.
I apologize if I mispronounce it. Nazir Jackson. Did I say it right? All right.
Good evening, chair members. My name is Nazir Jackson. I am the second vice president of the Roanoke Youth Council. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. I come before you not only as a student and a community leader, but someone who deeply invested in the future of Roanoke's young people. Over the last several weeks, our community has watched with increasing concern as Roanoke City Public Schools confront a $16.5 million budget deficit. A shortfall in a large part to change in the city's school funding formula, which reduced our share of new tax revenue from 40% to 34%. As a result, this division is now weighing on the potential elimination of about 150 positions, reductions to student programs, and cuts to essential operational services. These are not just numbers on a spreadsheet. These are teachers who keep us engaged, the staff who keep our schools safe, and the program that keeps students connected, motivated, and successful. We already heard that the proposed cuts could include eliminating after-school activity buses, a lifeline for students, especially those who rely on sports, tutoring, or clubs as a pathway to opportunity. Reducing or restructuring gifted services and elementary programs. We've also heard parents express the hard truth. Cuts like these don't just reduce services, they widen opportunity gaps. When transportation disappears, participation disappears. When tutoring is cut, achievement suffers. When staffing is slashed, students' support becomes stretched thin. I ask the board members to remember that these impacts fall heaviest on the students who already face the steepest barriers. But I also stand here tonight with hope because I know our district is not giving up. Superintendent White has shared creative strategies the division is exploring, including public-private partnerships, endowments, and grant opportunities. Tonight, I urge you to continue pushing for solutions that protect students first, even in the face of extremely difficult decisions. I ask City Council, whom I work with as a youth leader, to fully recognize the long-term consequence of this deficit. As parents and community members have said, the decision made this year will ripple 1, 5, 10, even 20 years into Roanoke's future. We cannot afford to budget by sacrificing a generation. To the board, please continue to center your decision on student impact. To city leaders, please remember that schools are not simply another line item. They are the foundation of our city's economic future, civic health, and community stability. To my fellow students and advocates, let's please keep showing up. Our voices matter, and tonight proves that. Roanoke cannot thrive if students cannot thrive. I urge every leader in this room to see this not as a financial crisis, but as a moral movement, a chance to reaffirm that our children's future are non-negotiable. Thank you.
Yes. All right, next is Ms. Paris Scott.
Good evening, board, and good evening, students and parents of Roanoke City Public Schools. My name is Paris Scott, and I serve as the first vice president of the Roanoke NAACP Youth Council. But first and foremost, I am a student of William Fleming High School, Colonel Pride.
Okay.
School is more than just the textbooks and the academics. It's about our knowledge and what we're gaining. So tonight, I'm here to talk about the budget on the behalf of William Fleming High School and schools for Roanoke City Public Schools. I also want to speak about, from my personal experience, as a player for William Fleming High School girls program. We are already paying $100 to participate to play each year. I believe that if cuts are being made, we won't be able to travel to certain type of tournaments in season and summer camps to provide for us and strategize our chemistry together as a basketball program. If you know, we went to the state championship last year, and I'm proud to stand here today and say that we need those transportation and those cuts and those budgets for us to continue doing the work that we've already done for our program. But even now, we're already dealing with limiting funding. But if funding is cut even more, it could affect our ability. These students need to be motivated, and we don't need these cuts. I believe that our textbooks still matter. I believe that these lunch meals that are free still matter. I believe that the after-school programs, far as Play-Doh and after-school programs to make sure that kids are passing their classes, IEPs, all those in categories are still matter so we can have that good education. I also believe that everybody deserves a diploma and is able to graduate with a full ride scholarship. So no budget, no money, no scholarship. I also believe that with athletes, besides the basketball program, for football, softball, any other sports, should have some type of funding too. And our teachers and our principal, Ms. Anderson, should be having equal funding. So please, students and staff and members of Roanoke City Public Schools, when it comes to these funding cuts and making these decisions, please think of us as students and not just us as students, but our teachers and our principals and our parents. Thank you.
Last on our list is, hope I say it right, Dina Anderson.
Hi, I'm Dina Anderson. I am a Roanoke City resident. This is my daughter Hazel. I'm the PTA president at Highland Park Elementary School, and most importantly, a mother to my daughter Hazel, who's in the third grade Play-Doh program. I know that the board is facing many difficult decisions, but I feel that it's not realized the full impact of cutting this program that has been in place for so long that it will have on the children, the community, and especially our school. This year has proven to me how important this program actually is. Let me tell you about my child. In previous years, she would come home dysregulated, emotional, and begging for me to homeschool her, which is not an option. My outgoing, smart, inquisitive, silly, and rule-following daughter was slipping away. It was very difficult to send your child to school knowing that that's the outcome. This is in no way and absolutely no way meaning to disparage our teachers. We love them dearly. It is just to speak to the system that is in place. Teachers can only do so much when there are such varied needs in education and behaviors. While the teacher helped students with behavior issues or kids who were behind and needed more attention, Hazel seemed fine. She finished her work, and many students recognized that she was able to help them. She would come home at the end of the day and melt down, crying about how stressful her day had been. At 6 and 7 years old, crying about how stressed she was from helping others. This year has been a complete change. At the beginning of the year, my child thought she didn't belong in the program. It wasn't that she didn't fit. It was because for the first time, she was actually learning. She had to learn how to learn. She was finally being met at her level and challenged. She is thriving now. She has many friends, and she and her classmates feel like they belong. Her story is not unique. I've heard the same thing many times over from other parents. How do we as parents explain this and make our children go back? How does the school and the city make our children go back? Now I will speak as a PTA president. Cutting Play-Doh will hurt Highland Park tremendously. Play-Doh makes up a third of Highland Park Elementary School, and a third is huge. A school will not sit with a third of its classrooms vacant. There will be redistricting. It's inevitable. Losing Plato also means losing test scores from the Plato 4th and 5th grade, and it will affect our overall scores, potentially even affect accreditation. This decision will continue to affect more than our students now. It will affect the neighborhood and communities everywhere for years to come. If Plato is cut, some parents may be able to send their child to a private school. Most cannot. Few students may get adequate education at their home school, but most did not. Highland Park, like many of our schools in our region, are lower income schools. And when children aren't challenged, they act out, they create distractions, cause trouble, or give up and silently stop caring. We advocate, as PTA, we advocate for our school, our students, our teachers. We also work to raise money to help fill the gaps between the budget and the school needs. Without a Plato, I see that we will struggle and that will not exist. Cutting Plato may save a little money, but it is a drop in the bucket to its true cost.
On behalf of the school board, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to speak to us this evening and at other meetings and through many other channels. As we said earlier, we do value the feedback of our community. Public input is important as we make decisions on behalf of all students in Roanoke City Public Schools. Thank you. Dr. White, please provide the superintendent's updates.
All right, thank you. And good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the school board, and student representatives. This evening, we're bringing forward several important items for your consideration and information, including an update on our professional learning program, approval of the addition of a teacher workday for the current 25-26 school year, and approval of the capital improvement plan and capital maintenance program, and approval of the 25-26 categorical budget. Before we move on to our agenda, I'd like to take a moment to highlight some exciting updates. We are so proud of our Lady Colonels girls basketball team for reaching the Class 5 state semifinals. They played Princess Anne and Virginia Beach this past Friday, and while they narrowly lost 57-43, it was a close game. Princess Anne is the top team in the state and 16th in the country, and so we are proud of our Lady Colonels for representing RCPS at the highest levels this season. They have racked up some impressive awards, including Region 5C champions, which you'll hear more about during our winter sports recognition this month. Let's give them another round of applause. Also, over the past week, I've had the pleasure of visiting classrooms at several of our schools to celebrate Reading Across America Week. Our youngest learners are reading and writing and discussing relevant material in every classroom every day. And I want to thank our teachers for always leading with love and literacy. And our community members, I want to thank you as well. Many of our community leaders came out to read to classes as well. So thank you for taking the time to connect with our students and to share your love of reading as well. And so next, I want you to mark your calendars. We are excited to share that Roanoke City Public Schools will be co-hosting a traffic safety event with the City of Roanoke's Transportation Department on Saturday, April 11th from 10 to 1 at Westside Elementary School's Traffic Garden. So this is a great opportunity for our elementary families to receive free safety checks, and it's also to check the proper helmet fittings as well. And families will have an opportunity to have their children practice walking and biking safely in a simulated environment. So come on out. We'll be sharing more information about that pretty soon. I'm also excited to share that our 4th annual RCPS Works Student Job Fair and Transition Services Fair will be held from 3 to 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, April 23rd at the Berglund Center. Now, as a reminder, this is our annual student job fair, and it's designed to connect students with summer jobs and long-term employment as well. So the event will also feature transition resources for students with disabilities and our Summer Connect resources for families with elementary and middle school students Students and employers can visit our website to register for that RCPS Works Student Job Fair. So we're excited to continue that again this year. So to begin our report tonight, I'd like to ask our Executive Director of Professional Learning, Carrie Gates, to provide a report on professional learning in Roanoke City Public Schools. So Ms. Gates.
All right, thank you, Dr. White. All right, good evening, Chairperson Appel, Vice Chair Cherry, Superintendent White, student representatives, and members of the school board. I'm excited to share the professional learning work happening across our division. You all have the 2025-26 Professional Learning Catalog, which outlines professional learning opportunities for all staff, including our experienced and veteran employees, as well as our instructors, and of course, our alignment to our strategic plan. Tonight, I will focus on two areas. One, why professional learning matters to the organization and our employees. And three, I will share 3 growth opportunities from this year that support our strategic plan's professional growth pathway, specifically career advancement, mentoring, and leadership development. So first, let's take a quick look at why professional learning and growth opportunities matter. So from the organization's perspective, professional learning strengthens recruitment and retention. Employees constantly look for organizations that will invest in their growth, and research shows that 93% would stay longer if career development is supported. So from the employee perspective, professional learning signals to them that their growth matters. People want relevant learning that helps them succeed in their role and adapt to changing expectations. Because professional learning matters, we've been very intentional and focused about where we invest our time and resources. So in December, during our HR staffing report, I shared a high-level overview of our professional learning work. Tonight, rather than revisiting everything, I will briefly take a look at 3 specific growth opportunities that support our professional growth pathway and strengthen our workforce pipeline: the Great Beginnings New Teacher Mentor Program, the Aspiring Principals Program, and the Southwest Virginia Teacher Apprenticeship Program. I'll begin with Great Beginnings, which supports early career teachers and plays an important role in strengthening retention. So, the Great Beginnings Mentor Program continues to grow. Since December, our mentee numbers have increased from 266 to 288 teachers, supported by 116 trained mentors. So far this year, mentors and mentees have logged over 4,350 meetings, reflecting strong engagement and ongoing support. This program serves teachers new to Roanoke City, as well as second-year teachers, and this year we've expanded support to third-year teachers. So, one of the ways we monitor program effectiveness is through program surveys. From our mid-year surveys, mentees identified that mentors were most helpful in supporting them in classroom management, instructional resources, student relationships, and we use that feedback to provide ongoing mentor support. From our mid-year survey, 89% of mentees reported that they were either satisfied or very satisfied with their mentor support. Mentors shared that mentors provided strong instructional support, guidance in their classroom management, and contributed to the sense of belonging that they felt in their building. And I'd just like to share a brief reflection from one of our mentees, Jeff Leff, at William Fleming High School.
Excited to be talking about the Great Beginning Mentorship Program. It has had a transformational impact on my first year of teaching. It's rare to come into a school environment and just feel so supported, so welcomed, and to be given all the tools I needed to really succeed. I want to shout out my fantastic mentors in the science department in particular. They have been an absolute godsend this first year. There's always a tremendous amount to learn as a first year teacher, but with their expertise, I really felt comfortable and confident and like I knew what I was doing from day one.
So now we're going to kind of shift over to the mentor side of things. So it's equally as important that we support our mentors. In our mid-year survey, 94% of mentors rated the professional learning that they received as either highly effective or effective. Mentors shared that the learning was valuable because it allowed them to collaborate with one another and use practical tools to be more proactive in supporting new teachers' needs. And importantly, 93% indicated they plan to continue serving as a mentor next year. I'd also like to take a moment to thank all of our wonderful mentors for their time, their care, and their leadership that they bring to this work. They are a wonderful, dedicated group of people. I'd like to also thank our lead mentor teacher, April Coates, for her leadership and ongoing support of this program. So I'd like to share a brief reflection from one of our mentors, Melanie Potter at Grandin Court.
It has really made me a better teacher all around. Even in my own classroom, it's helped me to tighten up. We as mentors get our own professional growth to make sure that we are prepared to be the best mentor we can be. And so it's helped me to tighten up in my own classroom and to look at some of the things that I've been doing to see where I can make adjustments and to help me be a better teacher as well.
So in addition to supporting new teachers, mentoring also helps us identify and develop future leaders, which brings me to our career advancement work. So one key strategy in strengthening our workforce pipeline is preparing future leaders from within our own schools. The principalship is an increasingly complex role, and we recognize the importance of strengthening a leadership pathway that intentionally prepares and supports future principals. This year, 13 of our leaders are participating in the Aspiring Principals program to build leadership readiness and to ensure they are well prepared to support our students in schools. So rather than walking through each individual session, I wanted to highlight what distinguishes this program. Participants develop essential leadership skills that are immediately applied in their current role. This is not a sit and get experience. Participants are expected to actively apply their learning to real-world instruction. So that applied work culminates in measurable impact. During our final session on March 23rd, participants will present the impact of their work to peers and division leaders, using data to demonstrate how their leadership has influenced instruction, including a teacher's ability to deliver strong Tier 1 instruction and to share student performance. And to share what this looks like in practice, here's a brief reflection from one of our participants, Kiana Fields.
It's really shaping me as a leader, specifically about being a systems builder within the building, how to build those systems that are going to promote student growth and staff growth as well. I would say yes, absolutely do it. You get to collaborate with colleagues who are like-minded, who love the city, who love our students. Absolutely do it.
And kind of our third section is the teacher apprenticeship. And as I shared in December, we are now in our second cohort of the Southwest Virginia Teacher Apprenticeship Program, which is a regional consortium of 6 school divisions across Region 6, with each division supporting up to 2 apprentices. This year, we have 2 apprentices at Hurt Park. One is a former instructional assistant, and the other is a William Fleming graduate. The goal is to provide career advancement opportunities for classified staff and to grow future teachers from our own community. This apprenticeship model removes financial barriers to licensure and serves as a long-term workforce strategy that supports retention and strengthens our teacher pipeline. This model is powerful because apprentices learn to teach in the school division where they will ultimately work. They are full-time paid employees who receive tuition support through Radford University while completing extensive on-the-job training with a master teacher. This model blends classroom practice and coursework, allowing apprentices to apply what they learned immediately. So to highlight this program, here's a brief reflection from one of our apprentices, Heaven Campbell, and our school principal, Mrs. Danielle Allen.
Opportunity is important to me because it allows me to get that real world hands-on experience before I go out into the field of my own.
I think the apprenticeship program is very unique because it allows them to see every phase of the school year. Through the apprenticeship program, they get time to learn the school, learn the curriculum, meet the students, build those relationships, and ease into student teaching. And then that way, those relationships are really solid, and so they're able to put in better work.
So it's been my pleasure and honor to share this report with you. This is a lot of good work being done by many across our division, and I just want to thank you for your ongoing support of professional learning in Roanoke City.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gates. Does anyone on this side, Ms. Quintana or Mr. Link, have any questions or comments for Ms. Gates?
Thank you for leading a wonderful program.
Thank you.
Ms. Trigg, Ms. Watkins,
Awesome job.
Vice Chair Cherry.
Thank you so much. This is necessary for our division. I don't think sometimes our community understands how much intentionality goes behind the scenes when it comes to investing, not just in our students, but also our workforce, because our business is people, and we invest in students, but we also have to invest in quality staff. So this work is important. Thank you.
And it's always been of note to me, and I've mentioned it before, how there is a purposeful intentionality to support staff and give everyone at every level of staff and RCPS opportunities for growth. And it's also coupled with accountability and measurement. It's nice to have feel-good programs, but we have the numbers behind it. And I've seen numbers in previous years with retention, both of new teachers or new to RCPS teachers, because they get mentors too, whether it's their first year or not, but also for our mentors as well. And so I just hats off regarding that. Oh, and the voice in the sky, Dr. Jameson. Any comments before we move on?
No additional comments. Thank you for the very thorough report.
Thank you, Ms. Gates.
Thank you, Ms. Gates. All right. Next, I'll ask our Chief Instructional and Administrative Officer, Archie Freeman, to provide an overview of a request that we're bringing forth for your consideration and approval to change April 21st, 2026 to a non-student teacher workday due to our schools being used as voting precincts for a statewide referendum. So, Mr. Freeman.
Thank you, Dr. White. I promise you I'm going to be shorter than Mr. Perkins tonight. The Commonwealth, as Dr. White has stated, Virginia has scheduled a statewide special referendum election for Tuesday, April the 21st. 9 of our school facilities within the division have been designated as official voting precincts for this election. Conducting normal instructional operations in these facilities while accommodating significant public access for voting presents logistical concerns regarding safety, parking, and of course, the capacity for our security in buildings. In order to minimize disruption to the instructional environment and ensure the safety and orderly operation of our schools, the administration recommends that Tuesday, April the 21st, be designated as a non-student day and observed as a teacher work day. The school division will remain in compliance with all state-mandated instructional hour requirements. Upon the vote on tonight, we will move forward with appropriate communication to notify all stakeholders. So on tonight, we're asking that you approve that April 21st, 2026 serve as a non-student day, but a teacher work day.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Is there a motion and a second to approve the revision to the 2025-2026 academic calendar to establish April 21st as a non-student day and observed instead as a teacher service day?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Link, seconded by Mr. Cherry. Is there any further discussion? Is there any discussion?
Behave, if I tell your mama now. That would stop.
All those, hearing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Say no. And the motion passes.
There you go.
April 21st will be a non-student day.
Your vote didn't count, guys. Thank you for voting, but it did not count.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Freeman.
That was good.
And starting tomorrow, we will begin to communicate this change with our families and staff to ensure that they are aware of this change. So thanks again, Mr. Freeman, and thank you to the board. Next, I'll ask our Chief Operations Officer, Chris Perkins, to come forward and to prepare you for a vote on our capital improvement plan and our capital maintenance program. So, Mr. Perkins, on to you.
Thank you, Dr. White, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board. Mr. Freeman has forgotten that this is just an approval request from Mr. Perkins. I presented the capital improvement plan at your last meeting. You also have your capital development initiative, which includes our CIP and CMP in writing. And just as a reminder, we have submitted a 10-year plan at the request of City Council. Councilman Bestfitch specifically asked that we put it out 10 years. So this is the first 5 years of our request, and this is the second 5 years of our request. I will note that there are columns missing from that this year because we no longer have a capital fund balance to where we can offset debt. So it is debt requests that we have planned out for 10 years. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. Ms. Trigg, Ms. Watkins, any comments or questions for Mr. Perkins? Mr. Link, Ms. Quintana?
No, sir.
Mr. Cherry?
Thank you.
I did want to just ask one quick question. I noted, HVACs, roofs, playgrounds on here. Do we have some mechanisms in place to make sure that, 10 years from now or 20 years from now, or 30 years from now, when say you're not the head of operations anymore, that these things don't fall through the cracks, that they're not dependent on one person? Do we have checks and balances to make sure that we keep these things fresh and updated so we don't lose them 5 years from now?
Absolutely. With the arrival of Dr. White and her vision and my appointment to this position, we created a capital development initiative standard operating procedure that has a needs assessment scorecard. We have a committee that reviews all of those. It is laid out in the SOP, the responsibilities and of each individual who will address those going forward. I hope I'm here 30 years, but I'm going to tell you I will not be. Remember that I've retired once already. So, but we have all of that in writing. There is a process in place, which we are very proud of. The people who worked on that, Mr. Jeff Shawver, Mr. Don Richardson, Mr. Stan Robinson, Mr. Joey Campbell, and many others, but they all worked very diligently to make sure that we have it standardized in writing and available for future generations to come.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And the work done. I remember about all the information on getting all the SOPs together through all the departments. So, and voice in the sky. Dr. Jameson, any questions or comments for Mr. Perkins?
No questions, thank you. Should I have a chopper noise? You say.
No, you got me. Don't worry, sister.
Okay.
No,
I'm holding your name up.
Right here. Thank you, Mr. Perkins. All right, with all of that said, is there a motion and a second to approve the capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2027 through 2036 as presented?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Cherry, seconded by Ms. Watkins. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. And the motion passes.
All right, very good. And thank you to the board. Thank you, Mr. Perkins, also for all of your leadership and your support, and hats off to your team as well on a wonderful capital improvement plan and maintenance program. So thank you for your leadership. Last but not least, I'll ask our Chief Financial Officer, Kathleen Jackson, to come forward to provide an update on an overview of the 2026-2027 categorical budget for your consideration and approval tonight. But first, I'd like to take a moment to thank everyone, from our students, our staff members, our families, for engaging in the budget process with us. So whether you are in this room tonight or if you're watching online, I do want to thank you. I want you to also know that your voice does matter. So it's important for us to make sure that we hear from everyone. And so I just want to say thank you for that. Thank you for your engagement, for your investment of time, talent, and energy, and support of the work that we do every day. It's important that you remain engaged throughout the next several weeks and next several months as we're getting closer to the final budget. So I'd ask you to stay engaged. And I also want to be clear, because I know many of you are watching closely, that no cuts are being announced tonight. Those decisions have not been made yet. What we are asking the school board to approve this evening is a categorical budget. It's the high-level budget. It's a broad framework, not a final line-by-line budget. We will continue to discuss and provide updates in the coming weeks as we learn more, but we're still waiting on critical information, particularly from the state. State lawmakers are still negotiating between the Senate and House versions of the state budget. So that outcome will affect how much funding we receive from the state. So we do have to kind of hold for a minute until we see how that kind of shakes out. We're also still gathering information that we need to make the most thoughtful decisions possible, including surveys and feedback from families and from staff members about specific programs. So again, still in the information gathering stage, but keep in mind that we did not arrive at this moment easily. As you know, I want to thank the board for your engagement. I know that we kept you for 3 hours at the last meeting. We'll try not to keep you that long tonight. But we, again, it was important for us to go through all of the various considerations and to provide the options and the information and to address the various questions that we have received through the budget town hall meetings and through the focus groups that we've had. It's important for us to take all of those questions seriously and to outline all of the various potential pathways as we move forward. So we know that this has been a difficult budget season. It's a difficult time to navigate and even to discuss, quite frankly, but we must adjust accordingly. So the facts are the facts. And so many people have asked time and time again, well, how did you get here? And why is this? And how did you get here? And so there were, again, just so that we can make sure that everybody has an understanding of where we are right now. We were level funded last year, so that had a $6.7 million impact. And then we had to return our fund balance to the city. And now there's been a policy change taking us from 40% of actual revenues to 34% of growth. So again, when you combine all of that together, that's how the $16 million deficit has come to be. So I just, again, we've gotten lots of questions about that, so I just want to make sure that everyone is clear on why the budget deficit exists. So there's no way around that, and particularly when we're in a people business. So again, we're faced with these really hard decisions because we are in a people business. But I do want you to know that we hear you, and that what I can promise you is that we will continue to move forward carefully and most importantly together, because that's how we do our work. And so again, it's a tough time, and we may not always, the discussions can be a little rough sometimes, but I believe if we stick together and we stay focused and we are committed to moving forward together, then we will find our way forward in the most productive way that we can, with keeping our students at the center of the conversation. So with that, Mrs. Jackson, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Chair, Mrs. Apel, Vice Chair, Mr. Cherry, members of the board, and of course, Dr. White. We will start off with kind of an update. As Dr. White said, there's still not a final answer on state funding of education. So just want to revisit, we shared this last meeting, but kind of high-level points of the differences between the Senate and House versions of the state budget. The Senate version does have the state share of a 3% raise for standards of quality positions instead of 2%. The House sticks with the 2% that was in the introduced budget. Senate version does increase at-risk add-on funding, which is very favorable for Roanoke City Public Schools. Makes a few sort of more longer-term adjustments. Sort of big difference in the House version, there's that $400 million one-time flexible funding supplement, which is a big deal. That's a significant, it makes that budget quite a bit more dollars for Roanoke City Public Schools. And so here is just kind of high level. The Virginia Department of Education is not doing detailed calculation tools until the General Assembly comes to one final budget, but based on sort of the high level information that was part of those, each house's budget, the Education Committee reports, we can get a general sense of what this would mean for Roanoke City Public Schools. So you see there that the estimate is that the Senate version would add about $2 million above the introduced budget. That's sticking with a 2%. We have not really had discussion about being able to afford going all the way to a 3%. So that would be sticking with a 2% raise. And then the House version, as you can see, about 6 million of that is the estimate that would be Roanoke City Public Schools' share of that one-time money. Importantly, an important caveat of those funds is that you are required to do a 2% raise to access those monies. So that's kind of two pots of money in the state budget on that side that we would not have access to if we did not do that raise. So that is a significant portion. I know we've had a lot of discussion about how the state only funds a portion of the positions that are actually necessary to meet student needs. So that is about $1.6 million that we would be leaving on the table if we did not do that raise. But here is a significantly larger number that we could use to help offset the additional cost of doing that raise. So that is something just to keep in mind that would be required. And then about 800,000 is related to the House version doubling the special education add-on. So a variance of about an additional 2 million versus an additional 6.8. So here kind of just shows you what the budget's high level would be for Roanoke City Public Schools. The introduced budget in white, about 158 million. Senate version brings that up to about 160 million, and then close to 165 million, the House version. I will note, as I said, we don't have the detailed templates to use to look at these numbers in detail. We are budgeting with based on an estimate of 12,700 as March funded average daily membership. I will, just as a reminder, that's not total membership. Of course, we have many more students than 12,700, but some of those student groups, such as preschoolers, for example, are funded separately by the Virginia Department of Ed, so are not included in funded ADM. So I just wanted to clarify that, why I'm using that number. Currently, the estimates at the state level are based on a much lower number of 12,340. We think that's significantly too low, but again, I can't adjust. We just have a spreadsheet that cannot be manipulated at this point. Once the calculation tool comes out, when the General Assembly has a final budget, we will be able to go in and make those changes and see what that difference is. So probably, long story short, probably that means these are sort of low estimates, but wouldn't be changed significantly. So looking at the revenue picture, so you see here the current year budget compared to what is projected for next year. That's using the Senate version. We always like to start with the more conservative option if they're, particularly when they're that far apart. And again, I kept noted, we talked about this last meeting, but that we are reflecting the students with intensive support needs, both revenue and expenditures in the general fund. So you see that there, that all of that combined to a variance of about $9 million if the Senate version is what passes. So moving on to expenditures, just to highlight very high level some of the impacts, the biggest cost drivers affecting our budget. Of course, as Dr. White said, the vast majority of our budget is people, so employee raises are and personnel costs are the number one piece of our budget. So we are proposing to stick with a 2% raise, mostly because of that House version of the budget, that would, if we did not have that in there, we would be foregoing quite a bit of state funding. So in implementing that, how we would handle that is we would look at a combination of a scale and step increase. So for example, our teacher scale already has 1.5% between steps. So we would look at, in that case, moving the whole scale up 0.5%, and then everyone would move a step. So that would combine to be a 2%. We do have some scales, primarily our classified scale, where there's already 2% between steps. So in that case, we would just move folks up a step. So we would do adjust scales if needed to make sure that we averaged out to that 2%. Just some other that I know we've talked about this a lot, so I won't belabor the point, but health benefits is another major cost driver. At this moment, we're estimating a 10% increase there. We have heard that could be low, but That's based on a rolling average, and we did have a high month that's incorporated in that our healthcare consultants said possibly is not indicative of where we'll land. So we're watching that one. We did have a favorable change on Virginia retirement system, so that helped our budget. That in every biennium, they update their rates, and they did go down this biennium, so that was a positive. And then other contractual obligations that have increased based on inflation or the service level, such as transportation, equipment maintenance, technology, and instructional resources. So that's very high level. And then again, still under consideration, no final decisions on the cost reduction side that we've discussed, our reductions or deferring building and grounds maintenance, reducing our professional learning travel and special events, reducing instructional resources and assessments, reducing or eliminating some special programs or services, reducing equipment and supply budgets, eliminating some positions where we would focus first on vacancies, and furloughs at the division administration level. So I'm going to show you this preliminary budget based on both the Senate and House, just to give you an idea. But again, we are asking you at this point in the process to approve a preliminary budget that will be based on the Senate version, because that is the more conservative option that's on the table at this point. So what you see here, again, this first column is just for comparative purposes, the current year adopted budget. Our preliminary needs-based budget is the next column, so that's kind of where we started this process, and we looked at all of the needs that were identified. Then the third column shows you the preliminary budget that we'll be asking you to approve this evening, and where we landed based on the revenue projections that we have at this time. So that's obviously it's about a $14.6 million decrease because the Senate version added about $2 million to the budget. So that's why that is slightly better than the $16 million we've been discussing. And then the House version, just again for comparative purposes, as a possibility there, that adds quite a bit more. I will note, I've reflected only about half of that $6 million in this year of the budget. That language in the state budget does say that those funds are available for both years of the biennium. So that if that ends up in the final state budget, that certainly will be an item for discussion here of whether you want to do that. I've, again, tried to err on the side of the more conservative, because if we use that to help fund a 2% raise, that's an ongoing cost. So we'll have those costs in the second year of the biennium as well. So that's partly why I reflected it that way, just for your consideration. But again, that would be something we could discuss if that ends up in the final budget. So again, as I mentioned, at this point, we're using the Senate version. That is the more conservative of the two. General Assembly is scheduled to adjourn this weekend, so sort of remains to be seen. Hopefully, we'll maybe have he's smiling at me. Maybe we'll have a budget, Dr. Siebert.
He's like,
he does not have a crystal ball. Uh-oh. It's like
Behind the column.
it could go either way. So we'll see if we have some agreement between the conferees on a final General Assembly budget, hopefully sooner rather than later, that will obviously impact greatly our ultimate decisions as we continue through this process of finalizing the budget. We do also need to approve a preliminary budget for the Food Services Fund. So you see here our projected revenue and expenditures comparing the current year adopted budget and what we are predicting and projecting at this point on the Food Services Fund. So a bit of a reduction compared to the current year based on some sort of one-time uses of fund balance in that area for some professional learning and some other needs that one-time needs that we took care of in the current year or are taking care of that are not proposed to continue in the next year. So we will ask you to approve our preliminary food service budget as well as our general operating fund budget here. So you see those together at this point. And again, and this happens every year. This is the preliminary budget, but the one item that at this point in the process we want to make sure that is clear to the board and the public that is included in this budget is a 2% raise. And so we do want to make sure that in approving this budget, you are comfortable with us moving forward with a 2% raise, because timing wise, we need to begin the process of getting contracts out sooner rather than later. So that sort of separate timeline of contract renewal for next school year does push us to make sure that we have your approval even before the final budget is available. So that's the main piece of this budget that we want to make sure that we, if you have any questions that we can address tonight, make sure that you're comfortable with the fact that we've included that in the budget at this point. So I will pause there and, well, actually, let me just go ahead and then we can come back to that if needed. The sort of next steps and the timeline and that sort of thing. So, of course, we are asking you to approve this preliminary high-level budget at this point because it is in our school board policy that we need to have a budget estimate to the city on or before the 15th of March. And so that will allow us to meet that requirement. And as I mentioned, kind of work towards those personnel reappointments based on the timeline we've laid out for that. We will certainly continue to provide updates throughout April and May as we get more information, particularly once we know where the state budget is, what that's looking like in a more finalized manner, all working towards ultimately a final detailed budget approval that we would bring to you on the June 9th meeting. So that's what I have for you this evening. I'll jump back a slide in case you wanted to look at that budget a little more, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jackson. So we will start with Dr. Jameson. Do you have any questions or inquiries or things for Ms. Jackson at this time?
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. I really appreciate the report. I think this is quite clear. I think the only thing I would like to just simply say, it's not so much a question, is to re-emphasize something Dr. White mentioned, which is while we are not recommending specific cuts tonight, it is important for us all to recognize that we are going to need to make cuts to meet this budget proposal. And I would like to be sure that the public recognizes that we have begun conversations of what those cuts will be, but no decisions have been made, as Dr. White said. So this is not a budget that is ill-considered by this body. I think that's the only thing that I would simply add. The discussions are ongoing. Thank you so much for all your hard work on this, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate that note, Dr. Jameson. And also I want to make sure to emphasize to board members that if there is information that you feel like you need between now and the line item budget, this is a good time as well to voice those questions or inquiries or research you would like to see. So Ms. Trigg, we'll start with you. Do you have any questions or comments for Ms. Jackson?
I do. In reference to our activity bus, have we surveyed or gotten any kind of data on the high usage, the high volume of when we have the most students on those buses and which days they possibly are? Is there possible research we have for that or can get?
Yes, we've done the counts by day, and we have an average between 154 daily and 173. That depends on the time of year, the season, and the activities, but we have it broken down by day of the week.
So literally every day of the week is at least those many?
Every day but Friday. Friday is a light day.
So right now we know 4 days we definitely need.
Right now, 4 days are used routinely between 153 students daily to 174 students daily.
And do we know the numbers as far as, is it after-school programs, clubs versus athletics?
Athletics is the primary driver, but it includes clubs, it includes fine arts events and other activities.
We could dig a little deeper, I guess, and find out more about the clubs to see how they're utilized.
We have access to all of that.
So we can certainly do that.
Good, thank you. Is there another way, like, I guess what I'm trying to see is not cutting it all together, if there's a possibility, whether, I wasn't expecting you to tell me all 4 of those days though, but I mean, at least savor 3 days what it would look like, 2 days what it would look like, just to have some kind of breakdown that we can
We
at
have
least.
the cost per day as well.
Okay.
We can provide all of that to the board.
point.
You know?
I really would like for us to look at it and make a decision based off of that, because one of the things I would not want to see is, I know as much as anyone else, parents, we love our kids in athletics. I love to see my child participate as much as he's active and everything else. But I know that that's a drive where we drive all over the place to make sure we see our babies shoot basketball, play football, or anything else. I'm going to pick him up, right? But then I think about those children that are in clubs. Those cannot go away. That's, maybe athletics is not their thing, but we can't leave them out there to have nothing to do. But we do need to have some kind of resources for them, if it's 2 days a week or 3 days a week that we have this activity bus running.
We even take them home from the library some nights. Some of them go over to the library and spend time.
I noticed that too. I think sometimes my son goes over there and do extra activities with one of his counselors or something, and I pick him up. So yeah, I mean, it's
Williamson
really
Road
good.
and Raleigh Court are highly
Yep.
used by the students.
So I think if we can narrow down and kind of make a decision around that before cutting it out altogether, to see if what we can do. I just don't want to see that. That's the precious age group I call. We could keep kids in the right path, or we can lose them.
Now, keep in mind, we didn't want to make any of these cuts.
I know.
It's the position we're in. It was an abrupt decision, and we have to, react to that abruptness. So.
Definitely understand. Thank you.
And that also reminded me about, I've seen feedback regarding really exploring logistically partnerships, potentially, even if it's just for the high school students with radar city buses or whatnot. So I think maybe I know there's been discussion, I know there's access to bus passes, and I think it comes out to about $26 for the school year for a student to use the bus, the city bus, but.
A little over 24,000 for the year.
For
If the school system funded partnership, Valley Metro already has a partnership with us.
Right.
In order for us to do that, it's about $28 per student for unlimited use, 31 days or 30 days out of the month. When you look at our numbers, it's about 24, a little north of 24,000, a little under 25,000. Remember, radar, their cost was almost as much as it costs us to provide it through Zoom. So.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Watkins.
I had two questions, but I want to ask one clarifying question about the city bus. What's the last run of the city bus?
I'll have to go back and look, but I think it's 7:45.
8:15?
Okay, there you go.
8:15.
And our programs go longer than that, is that right?
Yes.
No, we're actually run two. We're usually done by 7:30 in the evening with our last drop off. We pick up twice at our high schools and once at our middle schools. So.
Okay.
Just to maybe add to that, I think our activity buses are not the same thing as the bus transportation that would take students to and from like an away game, for example.
Right.
So that's not what we're talking about. So I just thought
Because
that
those
might.
games will go.
Right.
Okay, yeah, I thought about that, because if we were in this situation already, our girls would not have been able to make it to Virginia Beach.
There you go.
Is that right?
No, that's separate transportation. So we're not talking about transportation. We're just talking about the regular runs, the bus routes that run daily currently after school late to get kids home from their school to home from whatever activity might be happening at the school on that day. So transportation to from games that are away is separately budgeted, and that we're not talking about that.
And we are still funding that.
Correct.
All right. In your presentation, we rightfully so, we are going with the most conservative, or we're gonna probably vote on the most conservative version of this budget. I noticed that you talked about the House, you split the amount for the House because it indicated that would be over 2 years. But you didn't split it on the Senate side. Is that because that one's not explicitly saying that money needs to be used over 2 years?
Correct. I only split the portion of that $400 million that is flexible funding. That pot, which is the majority of the difference in the House version, that portion of money, which is estimated to be about $6 million for us, does specifically say that you can use that money over both years of the biennium. So I just looked at that portion of it to say roughly, excuse me, if we used about half or at least saved some of it into the year 2 of the biennium, that
It makes sense.
might be a smart
Because
thing
that
to think
400
about.
million is not in the Senate version.
Correct.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just wanted to be clear that
Yeah, good question. Thank
we
you.
weren't supposed to be splitting that other pot too. And then we've gotten a lot of emails from and conversation calls and things from Plato parents.
Everybody. Oh, yeah.
Everybody, but Plato parents
Everybody.
specifically. Have we surveyed them or talked to them? Anything, around their ability to provide transportation or who's going to drop out if we can provide transportation? Have we gotten any of that data?
No, ma'am, Mrs. Watkins, we have not gotten into information, but we are able to do that. We can also do our 4th and our 5th grade, and of course, those that may be seeking into the program to make sure we get through it, who can provide transportation and who cannot provide transportation. We could look into that.
I'd appreciate if you do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. We have gotten quite a few requests, so that is on our list to do for our current Plato parents. So thank you.
Yes, current.
Yes. Active.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Watkins. Were those your 2 questions?
Those were my 2
Okay.
questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Ms. Quintana?
I have a question. In the part of course, the teaching positions that we have we discussed or have we found out, are these all part of our standards of quality? Or are they half and half, the ones that we may have to cut?
We have to retain those that are required by the standards of quality. So that no position that would put us
Okay.
under the required standards of quality is being considered for elimination. So what we might look at is if the standards of quality require, 10 of a particular type of position, and we currently have 15, that's where we might have to have some discussion about, can we whittle that down and get closer to 10?
Okay.
Because we're not required to have the number that we have.
Correct. Okay. Thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up on that? I know off the top of my head, I can think of a handful of various positions, like kindergarten aides is one that I have mentioned before, because I remember you having a slide about it. I'd be curious to know from staff perspective, which of the positions that we have that's above the standard of quality, because I know that's one of the things that we look at, which of those they feel have the most impact on the quality of education we can provide. Is it the counselor to student ratio, which we know from Delegate Rasool, by state standards, the standard of quality is very low compared to what our students particularly need? Is it the number of students per AP? Is it the number of students per aide in various grade level classes, the number of students per classroom? So I'd be curious, again, regarding, we know that standards of quality, we are beyond them because they also are the minimum level of an outdated education requirement. But what at the staff level they feel would have the most impact, since we know cuts are coming, on what would have the most impact to keep? I would
Pull on that. That's a good question.
It is a great question. And we will certainly do that. Certainly, we've talked to a lot of folks, and I think it really depends on who you're talking to, right? So
of course,
I'm sure that our kindergarten teachers would talk about the importance of having the kindergarten aides there to help and assist with learning. I'm sure that our principals, and they have said as much to us about the help and support, the management of a schoolhouse, right? That they would need their assistant principals support and would be able to show the impact there. So that's, the discussions are tough because we are in a people business, and it does take all of these positions to make the difference, right, in a child's life. And so we will continue to have these discussions. It's just difficult to prioritize in that way because every level has different needs. Every classroom has different needs. And when we talk about making sure that there's value in the educational program, making sure that our students are graduating with a diploma and a resume, making sure that we are maintaining a robust program, including the academics, the arts, the athletics, all of these positions are essential to that. So that's why this is such a difficult time. But we will do our best to try to prioritize and to rank. But it will be a difficult discussion and a difficult kind of prioritization, and to be able to do that, because I think that everyone has articulated the importance of keeping all of these positions.
Thank you very much for your question, Ms. Quintana. Yes, a follow-up?
It's not even a follow-up. It's just, thank you. I just want to thank you because I know this has been hard. Everybody knows it's hard on everybody. It's hard on us. We have kids that are currently in the school system, and it affects us too. So it's not something that we take lightly. It's not something that is easy. And I just want to say we've really had those hard discussions. And just, we're trying to do the best we can. And I know you guys are, and you guys rock. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Quintana. Mr. Link?
You'll let me, I have three.
Yeah.
Are we here?
Yes.
I was going to say, you do.
My first is a mechanism question. My second is a category question. Then my third is a minutia that ran across the screen a second ago. My first one is, so we are looking at a preliminary categorical budget tonight. What happens if after tonight, we're finalizing on June 9th? What happens if between now and June 9th, the city gets better than expected revenue forecasts? Or what if the state increases local funding to some optimistic level that we are not yet seeing here? What happens then?
Well, that's why the budget that you approve in June is rarely exactly the same as what we're looking at right now, because that's pretty common. That's part of the reason why we certainly want to emphasize that this is a preliminary budget. It's an estimate based on the information we have at the time. But the city and the state are both still working through their budget processes, just like we are. And so that does often happen as new information comes to light, that revenue forecasts get adjusted, hopefully in a positive way. And then the funding for Roanoke City Public Schools might be changed a bit, hopefully, in a favorable light. And then we'll take that into consideration and
Adjust these categories.
Adjust these accordingly, yes. And certainly in this budget cycle, that would reduce the number of things that we have to set aside. So that would certainly be positive.
And Mr. Link, I would say that, again, I just want to make sure that we are clear about the board's priorities. It's my understanding, and it's our understanding, that the board wants to prioritize positions so that, again, because we're not talking about just vacant positions.
Right.
We're going to be faced across the table from folks to say, I'm sorry, your position has been eliminated. So it's our understanding that we're prioritizing positions. We're doing our level best to protect the classroom. And we're also looking at trying to protect key programs as well. So that's my understanding of the board's position. And so should that happen and we get funding that we didn't expect, that's the priority that I will share with my staff so that we can put it in that order for the board's consideration.
My second question, and it involves Mr. Perkins, I think. Just to give you time. To use a super country phrase, reduced maintenance and care of the facilities sticks in my craw a bit. I worry that we are creating a problem for next year's council or 5 years council. If there is a change in funding that allows us to change our funding to these categories, do we have a mechanism by prioritizing the reductions in maintenance we're currently identifying?
So first, I understand country, you can tell from this accent. So I understand exactly what you're asking. The answer is yes. We have a needs assessment process that we have placed in a standard operating procedure. That process allows us to pull priorities that we have already scored and ranked by either level 1, level 2, or level 3. We would pull those into the capital maintenance or capital improvement, depending on where the funding best fits. And we would bring those to you, and that would help us. And to further another question, anytime you defer maintenance, you are asking for larger costs potentially down the road. So
That's my concern.
you are absolutely right. The city itself has dealt with that. If you remember, they deferred maintenance on elevators. We don't want to be in that situation.
Right.
So anytime you defer maintenance, $3,000 could turn into 25. 250,000 could turn into $1 million before you know it.
Okay, thank you. So my third question doesn't involve you. And the third one, you had a line in your budget planning. We are predicting, on the advice of our consultant, a 10% increase in benefits. If I remember last year, we had a jump in benefits to the tune of $5 million. Am I remembering that right?
I think in the unexpected reimbursement costs at the end of the year, is that the one you're thinking of, at the end of the fiscal year? That was 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So we had 2 unexpected increases. So because we're self-funded,
Right.
we set our rates and we use consultants and they use actuaries. So to the best of our ability, based on our experience, they tell us what our rate should be. But ultimately, at the end of the day, our costs are whatever they are.
Right.
If people use the benefits more than those methods would predict, at the end of the day, we have to pay those bills. And so we did have that at the end of last fiscal year when our year-end costs were coming through post June 30. We did have a big adjustment to ensure that we had enough to cover that liability. That was about $5 million. So that was a surprise. So we are already working on trying to get better or earlier estimates from our healthcare consultants to try to hopefully prevent that big of an adjustment, particularly at year end, from happening. But what I think Mr. McKee and I thought you were mentioning originally was also our rates were higher when it came time for renewal in the current year.
Yeah.
That renewal rate was higher than we had projected at this time a year ago when we were estimating what we needed to budget. So
my question being, I remember last year when the unexpected change in reimbursements came back, that had a magnitude of $5 million. And there was a bit of a scramble to make sure we could cover that. I know what we're talking about here, a 10% increase in benefits is different. What is 10% in magnitude? You may not, if you don't know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I can get that to you. I think it was in an early presentation, but I don't want to misspeak and
Okay.
I don't have it.
I'd be curious just to
let you
understand
know.
relative magnitude. I remember that was a stressor, just in terms of dollars related to healthcare for employees. I'm curious what the magnitude is of the 10%.
I'll get that to you in a Friday packet because I do have it. I'm sorry, I just don't
That's
have
okay.
it
No,
in front of me today.
it's fine. Thank you.
And I think we've all asked for, I think there's been a number of questions up here that require extra follow-up. So of course, you always give us a lot of information to process. So of course, we don't expect you to have every single number you've ever presented off the top of your head. So, but I do understand the request when we're looking at relative magnitude of things. So thank you, Mr. Link. Vice Chair Cherry?
Yes, a few things. Mr. Perkins, I do have a question. My guy, Mr. Perkins. Yeah. Just going back and circling back to the trailers. So that is an initial $4 million investment, correct? But that does not mean it's going to cost $4 million. I'm a preacher, man. I talk like that.
No, I was saying there's recurring costs.
Oh, so the recurring cost is not $4 million. It'll be more than that, right?
That is correct. And we were appropriated 4.3 million for the startup. It may be between 4.1 and 5.1, but there's no guarantee for future funding with reoccurring costs of that. It could be as high as $3 million in maintenance and staffing to put into those trailers.
And something to just consider and look into is looking at the risk of not having the ongoing funding to continue those trailers. If that's the case, is it wise for us to consider putting that $4 million back into our budget, but of course with the approval of City Council?
That, the 4.3 million that's been appropriated could be put to good use in us getting ahead of any future deferred maintenance. So that would help with not only our CIP, but our CMP, our capital maintenance or capital improvement plan, yes.
All right, just wanted to put that out there to definitely look, because I see the $13 million and the 14 between the House and the Senate. That's encouraging. We still got a long way to go, but I did wanted to just make a few statements. One, I wanted to thank my colleagues for making and asking some incredible questions tonight, making sure that we address all of the concerns that we have. Definitely want to address June 9th. For those that know, we are adopting a finalized budget, but just because it's June 9th doesn't mean we're hiding from it today. It means that this board follows process. All right, so I just want to make sure the community is aware of that. There is a process to the budget, and this is nothing new. I know I've been a part of this process since I was 28, so this is just how we do things when it comes to our process. All right, so that's one. Then also I want to readdress and kind of acknowledge, I want to thank the mayor, Councilman Powers.
He's on the other side of the
Hey, Nick.
Behind the-
I want to acknowledge Councilman Hagan, who's been following this consistently for a while, and even have a candidate here. So good to see you, Rabbi, as well. Then also I want to acknowledge PTSA for continuing to engage our community, keep our community engaged with the facts, with the information, so that we're not blindsided by misinformed information. One thing I wanted to just say is that we are doing the work. Please don't think we just show up here in our fancy clothes and just say aye and second in motion. There's a lot of work being done behind the scenes to make sure that funding and that our children have a future, because we're not just planning to make it today. We're trying to make sure we plan for tomorrow. And my hope is that because City Council's here, I really appreciate their presence here, because I want to shift more from and I've said this privately, I want to make sure I say it publicly, I want to shift from private conversation to movement. All right, at this point, we're in a pivotal time in our city, and we have to shift from just conversation. We need to move. All right, our kids are at stake, our kids' future are at stake. We got parents that are concerned, we have staff that's concerned, and I know we're all feeling it on both sides, but my hope with your presence here tonight is it's a good start for us to start building that synergy and re-strengthening our relationships. So I've been saying it consistently that the greatest asset, we see all these figures on this screen, and that's wonderful, but the greatest asset is not these figures, it's our relationships. So if we strengthen those relationships, we may not be where we want to be, but the hope and prayer is that we're not going to be where we used to be. So that's just my 2 cents. Again, thank you to our chair and all of our colleagues for your comments tonight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cherry. Yes, Ms. Watkins.
Sorry, just one more. This is for you, Mr. Perkins. On the,
Just stay, yes.
in the past, our business partners have stepped forward and provided assistance to us in things like building basketball courts or, things like that. Have any of our business partners come forward that you know of and said, hey, I'd like to help. I've got a little bit of extra cash laying around. If you need a roof, we got you.
A little bit of plumbing.
Our community is remarkable in that it is very giving, and we are blessed. And one of the things that, one of the things I love about being in my 35th year in public service in this city is people jump to service when service is needed.
Right.
So the answer is yes. We've had the offer of access to a sports complex. We've had access to many things. Every board meeting, you get the privilege of thanking folks for that. We have not had the offer of long-term sustainable funding. That would be in an endowment that we would need for some of these things, but our community is very giving, and we're blessed to live in such a great place. So the answer is, I'm sure there'll be offers coming forward. I'm sure there'll be people stepping up saying, I can do this, I can do that. We just got to make sure we follow the rules on how we accept and what we accept. But you know, that's what I love about Roanoke.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
One quick question, and if they do ask any of us, do we direct them directly to you?
You can direct them to me, and we'll go through the process of getting the proper paperwork to you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For me, I just want to clarify some things procedurally for people. One, I noted a new category, the contingency. So that's new, that was not there last year. So I presume that is at the discretion of, you know, the administration based on like when emergencies arise. So, but I just wanted to note that that is a new category that has not been there before and something that we'd be approving tonight.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. I know we mentioned that at a prior meeting, but I appreciate you drawing attention to it. So yes, that would be something that would be there because we don't have we kind of formally used our fund balance in that manner to provide some cushion. We don't have that ability anymore, so felt that it was important to build in a contingency just because it is so difficult to, no one has a crystal ball to know exactly where expenses or revenue for that matter will land. And so we would certainly, if we found that we had an unexpected thing come up in mid-year, of course, we would bring that to the board if we needed to tap into that.
It's important to note, though, that that contingency is only half of what the recommendation is.
I think it's about 0.5% of the budget, which, you know, when we researched that, I think between 1% and 5% was usually what was recommended. So it's probably not as much as it should be, but we also want to be mindful of, you know, putting
things come up.
The majority of funds to things we know are coming.
Got it. And then I also wanted to note, because I know it's been very well shared a lot of the timeline that this was going to be the first vote that the board makes on the budget, but that it is at the categorical, not the line item level. And so I just wanted to note that within these categories, part of the reason that we're asking for future or for further information is it can span, different items can span categories and can have different impacts. So some things will impact transportation and instruction, or athletics and transportation, for example, or with technology. And, you know, like I'll report out from our technology committee, but later on, but that ultimately this is the buckets that things will be within. And that's also wherein we have to weigh, you know, various impacts of positions and dollars and programs within those buckets. So I did want to also clarify procedurally if there's, you know, there's always clarity with regards to, you know, the revenue projections as we get closer to June. Do we have to, do we have to be within, am I recalling properly that we have to be within a certain percent of our appropriated amount compared to what we could get at the end of the year? Or like once we know, like in June, like at a certain point, when will we know the state dollars that are coming to us compared to when we finalize our appropriation from the city level? Does that make sense? Because we try to be conservative because we have to be within, because if we're too far off, it's too bad.
Yeah,
I was going to say, Mrs. Jackson, I'd like Dr. Siebert, I hate to put you on the spot, can you talk about the importance of Thursday and those budget negotiations? I think maybe this could shed light on that.
Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members, Dr. White. Again, if General Assembly norms hold, then the conference committee for the budget between the House and Senate has to reach a resolution by Thursday evening, because they have to post the budget and be visible for 2 days before they would vote on Saturday when they adjourn. So we really are kind of at a crunch time right now. And it is a crunch because there's about $1.4 to $1.6 billion difference between the House and Senate budgets. And it's based not on spending, it's based on tax policy about whether or not there's going to continue to be incentive for data centers or not. And so they had to decide that tax policy decision first. That will then tell them how much money they have, and then they can negotiate on where the money goes. So it is a really big gap between the two budgets, and if they can make a compromise by Thursday, then they can vote on it before they adjourn on Saturday. If they don't, and again, if norms hold, then they would have to convene in a special session, and this would all play out over a much longer period of time, which becomes immensely more difficult for all school divisions and localities.
Which we've been faced with before.
We've been faced with before, but this is, yeah, that's what we're.
Thank you, Dr. Seaver.
So for example, let's say the House budget ends up being the one that passes, but we've budgeted on the conservative one and they're off by $4 million. Do we lose any of that just because of a conservative estimate, or we're still fine when we get to appropriation time and everything?
I think we're still fine. I mean, it would sort of depend on the time. You know, we have had that happen before where I know usually it's the first meeting of the main school board meeting in June when we ask you to approve the final budget. We have had to ask you to make the work session at the end of June a special meeting so that we could bring you the budget when the state was really late. So hopefully we will not have that issue, but we will be working with city finance. I've already been in communication with them about the timelines of, we do need to make sure that we are advertising a do not exceed amount, for example, when they do their public hearing, to make sure. So we'll be talking with them to make sure that we're kind of within appropriate parameters for that. So hopefully we, you know, ideally would not want to put anyone in a position where we have to kind of start over and have a new public hearing because something is significantly different than what we thought. So we'll be trying to work within those parameters so we do have the leeway until we do have that final information. But hopefully we'll know it sooner rather than later. And I know the city usually works to have their budget finalized by mid-May, so that all of that should be sort of clear and final before we ask you to approve a final budget.
Great. I don't think I had any further questions. I just did want to reiterate some of the things that we've heard throughout the meeting tonight. There has been a groundswell of engagement at all levels during this budget cycle, well beyond any of the years that I've been on the board. And I feel like the word engagement has been used a lot by me for, I know for sure, but I just want to impress upon that engagement requires paying attention, being informed, and also caring and taking action. So it's not just sitting back and listening to the meetings. It's a lot of steps in that process, and it communicates that the whole community really does care. The engagement is because of the love of the community. And there's also been a general consensus about and discussion about belonging. And that really is a heart of a lot of the things you're hearing about, whether it's Play-Doh or activity buses or our staff. And that's the heart of the mission, which is to know every student by name, need, and strength. We colloquially can call that belonging, but that's what it means to know somebody and to reach them where they are and to make sure that they have access to a high quality education here in Roanoke. So it's also especially poignant that March is Equity in Education Month, and we're talking about access to our students' education because that has lasting impacts to the future, but it's an investment. And, you know, I think the Westside Eagle said it best tonight, that your village equals your success. So, so thank you to everyone here watching in the room who have spoken, who have contributed, who've sent emails or tracked one of us down, sometimes in a grocery store or in a pickup line or whatnot, you know, in the car line or something. because we know that investing in our schools is investing in the heart of our community. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, and thank you, Mrs. Jackson, to you and your team. And Madam Chair, we'll ask for for the board's vote.
You got it. All right. So is there a motion and a second to adopt the 2026-2027 categorical budget as presented for submission to the city of Roanoke?
So, second.
Moved by Ms. Watkins, seconded by Mr. Cherry. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed say no. Thank you, and the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you, Mrs. Jackson, and thank you to the school board for your continued support and for your commitment to our students and to our staff as well. We do appreciate your hard work. I'm not sure if people see all that you do and the time commitment and the heart and care that you put into it. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of our staff. Thank you so much for your engagement as well. And just as a side note, before I conclude my report, I want to say happy birthday to Dr. Siebert, who's celebrating a birthday today. Happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Archie Freeman, who will be celebrating tomorrow.
Yeah.
Haley Poland, who will be celebrating on the 18th.
Yeah.
So lots of birthdays. So
And
happy
lot of
many
March babies here.
more.
And,
Come on.
That's enough.
and Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Dr. White. All right, Ms. Jackson, let's take a look at the financial forecast, and the floor is back to you again.
Thank you. All right, so this is our monthly update for our current year status, and this is reporting through the month of January. So we'll jump in looking at revenue on the general fund side. When we compare against a 3-year average of where we were at that point in the year over the last 3 years, and look at the current state budget. So we are taking into consideration the reduction in funded ADM in the current year compared to what we anticipated budgetarily. We are forecasted to be about $6 million below budget on the revenue side in the general fund based on our experience through January. Fortunately, we are also tracking favorably on the expenditure side, and at this point, based on our experience through January, forecast to be about $7.4 million below budget. So we look at that a couple of different ways. We always want to keep an eye on what we were appropriated in the general operating fund. So that was $275. We are obviously forecast to come in a fair amount under that at this point through January, forecast to be about $10 million below that on the expenditure side. But probably more importantly, we need to pay attention to that revenue and make sure that we don't spend money that we don't have. So when we compare that, we are still favorable based on our expenditures being at this point more below budget than our revenue, fortunately. So we are forecast to be about 1.4 million better than revenue at this point in the process. I will note that while that is favorable, that's only about a 0.5% difference from budget, which is a very slim margin. So we will be carefully watching that. In the grand scheme of our budget, that's not a lot of margin to play with. So we will be carefully watching that. Excuse me. On the food service side, on the revenue, we are also forecast to be a bit below budget, about $204,000. Based on our experience through January. Similarly, we are also forecast to be a bit under budget on the expenditure side based on the comparison against that 3-year average and activity through January. So that's forecast to be about $720,000 below budget on the expenditure side. So again, looking at our appropriation, which was $13.5 million in that fund, we are safely forecast to be under that, about $1.1 million. We do maintain a fund balance in that fund. We are required to maintain those funds only for food service purposes because they are federal funds. We did plan to use a portion of that fund balance, about $730,000 of that. So with those variances based on our experience thus far, we would still be forecast to use some of that fund balance, but a smaller amount, only about $210,000 based on our experience thus far in food service. And lastly, just where we are in terms of our capital fund. So we did have the just under 17.9 million that was reappropriated to us for capital projects that were in our capital improvement plan back in May. We used almost 10 million of that last year, and at this point in the year through January have used about 650,000 of that. So have about 7.43 million of that remaining unspent. All of that is committed for projects in our capital improvement plan, the majority of which is going towards Preston Park Elementary, which is actively under construction, as you know, at this point. So that is where we are as of January, and I'm happy to take questions.
Ms. Quintana, Mr. Link, any questions?
No, just thank you. Thank you.
All right, down here, Ms. Trigg, Ms. Watkins.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Cherry. All right, thank you. I had, Dr. Jameson, are you still here? And Dr. Jameson, no questions? All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Jackson. Appreciate the information as always. And on to the financial statements. Ms. Jackson, is there anything unusual to report this month?
I don't have anything specific or to add on the detailed financial statements that support the high-level overview we just shared, but I'm certainly happy to take questions or comments.
Any from the board? All right, no further questions about that, so thank you. The statements will be received and filed.
Thank you very much.
Okay, on to committee reports and ongoing business. So, Ms. Trigg, do you have any committee reports for us?
I do. So on Friday, February 27th, we hosted 2 informational sessions for rising seniors interested in serving as student school board representatives for 2026-2027 academic year. These meetings provided prospective candidates with a look at the role, responsibilities, and the impact of student representation and voice in RCPS. We saw a strong turnout at both high schools, signaling a high level of interest among the upcoming senior class. John and Steve both attended their respective school meetings, and they shared their experiences and valuable firsthand accounts of the process, from the initial interview to their experience of being on the school board. The sessions defined the balance between the honor of the position and the practical commitment required to be an effective representative. Currently, we have 8 applications in from Patrick Henry High School.
Come on.
And we have 5 submissions from William Fleming. Keep in mind, the application deadline is Friday, March 27th. A link to the application can be found on our RCPS main page, and there's also flyers posted in the main office at both high schools with a QR code. And for those that are listening and those that are here, if you have high school students, keep in mind this is a perfect way to step into a leadership role for your student, as well as they can be creative when they do fill out the application. They don't have to just fill out an application. They can do a video. They can use their creativity, what makes them stand out the most. And we look forward to seeing all those who apply.
Thank you, Ms. Trigg. Did you have any other committee reports? You want me to, okay, got it. Ms. Watkins, do you have anything to report for us?
I have one with me tonight, and that's the Wellness Subcommittee. We met on March 5th, and excuse me, some of the information that was reviewed was the average daily participation, and what we determined was the daily breakfast participation showed positive growth despite fewer serving days. Lunch showed a slightly per day decrease, with most total decline attributable to weather-related closures. We went over that the participation targets for this current year, and we're on track with the 2025-26 goals. Also, there were updates on, which I think is so cute, the Taste Buddies, students taste testing menus and giving feedback for the program. I absolutely love that. I love the roving chef also. Talked about that, where they're giving hands-on nutrition education, kitchen tours, and snack participation. There was some discussion around the IPS, which is centered around the eligibility, the community eligibility, and just, you know, some concerns about the possible impacts to student meal access. There was a little bit of discussion around that. And there's work going on with family outreach and support planning, especially for families with SNAP and Medicaid eligibility and enrollments. There was talk about the summer feeding program, and there was some concern expressed about the invitation-only summer school because of budget constraints. You know, those kids are also getting food, right? So when we were open to, you know, anybody that needed to be or desired to be in the summer program, we were also providing meals to those kids. So by invitation only, some won't have access. So that was a big concern. The next time we meet will be April 23rd.
Thank you very much, Ms. Watkins. Was that the only committee to report?
That's the only one that I have. CTE met, but I don't have the notes, so.
Got it. All right. Ms. Quintana?
I have none. One was what Ms. Trigg had. So.
Right. Wonderful. Mr. Link?
I don't have notes, but the Boundary and Feasibility Study Committee met today about an hour and a half before we got together in here. We looked at some of the proposed boundaries suggested by the outside consultant as an initial draft. Mr. Perkins has given us some homework. We need to go pick our subcommittees, and over subsequent meetings, we will start stress testing some of the proposed boundaries and looking at transportation impacts and all sorts of other things.
Wonderful. Thank you for that update. Vice Chair Cherry?
No, but the Community Engagement Committee met on February 25th, so I want to make sure I get those notes because Corey Alder is doing a wonderful job, especially the work he's doing at the Community Empowerment Center. So I'll be sure to give a robust report at our next meeting.
Great. Thank you very much. The Policy, Governance, and Legislative Committee will be meeting in April, but there was an update during the Legislative Committee that meeting with City Council where Dr. Siebert was able to also present regarding updates, advocacy updates at the state level. And so on behalf of Board Member Trigg, Dr. White, Dr. Siebert, and myself, I'm pleased to report that the advocacy for RCPS priorities and positions has been largely successful this session. The 2026 General Assembly session is scheduled to adjourn a 60-day session on Saturday, as Dr. Siebert noted. The City Legislative Committee meeting was back on March 2nd, and we provided a handout which is available with an update regarding the board's legislative priorities and expected legislative outcomes at that time. And since that summary, we're pleased to report that another significant update, our unfunded mandate, which was House Bill 1345 requiring redundant testing of HVAC systems, was continued until 2027. Please also find attached a copy of our recommendations for the budget conferees as the House and Senate budgets are being reconciled. And Dr. Siebert noted what would happen if a budget compromise is not reached by Thursday, that it would require a special session of the General Assembly. And as noted, our PG&L committee will meet on April 15th, and the agenda will include an analysis of the outcomes of the 26th General Assembly and a review of the just received policy updates from VSBA. And if you have any further questions about the General Assembly or forthcoming routine review and updates to select policies, please let anyone from the PG&L committee or Dr. White or Dr. Siebert know. Also, the Technology Committee met, and I forgot to print my notes from that meeting, but I have them from there. So there was a significant discussion around one-to-one devices, both regarding efficacy of delivering instruction and keeping in mind screen time and keeping in mind cost. So that is still being researched. The AI ambassador cohort, there was an update there with some good one-pagers, both for students and for teachers, that were kind of presented and shared there. There was a quarterly security report, and Wesley Williams always does an excellent job with our technology security. And there were also some other tech updates, for example, a software review process reminder, and printer accountability and security. So I think that is it for committee reports. And moving on to ongoing business, is there any ongoing business to share at this time from any other board members? Dr. White did note the Read Across America Day that happened at a number of schools across the division. My mother-in-law went and read at Fallon Park. So, and my kids were like, how did it go? She read to kindergartners, but I saw a lot of you all, a lot of community members out there.
Proud kindergartners.
Also I wanted to note about Senator Warner. We got a notification about our division receiving
Oh, the NAM. Yes, for music education.
I had it written down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, yes. We did get an award again, year over year, for music education, and so just proud of that.
Best community for 2025 Best Community for Music Education by the National Association of Music Merchants Foundation. Our CPS was recognized for that. Also, the PH Jazz Band, I believe, performed with the Virginia Tech Jazz Band at the Jefferson Center last week, and the Regional Science Fair is coming up this Saturday at Roanoke College. Did I miss anything? And spring sports have started, and its concert season will be upon us soon, as noted by future business. You'll note that it goes all the way to graduations on here. So the next time you will see all of us together is actually in less than a week at the joint city council meeting. And something that I am looking forward to during that meeting is talking about the state of education and an academic update on how our CPS is doing. We also have gotten some information about our mid-year data reports, and I'm very proud of the work that of the education that our students are receiving in our CPS. We also have some upcoming meetings and workshops leading up to spring break, and now you can add to this calendar of future dates. April 21st is a non-student day, and that is it. So anything else that's missing off the calendar of note? Okay, hearing nothing further, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.